Hey everyone, welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today, and this one is really interesting. It's a blog post
Oh, cool.
called The Glitch in the Matrix
Okay.
by Dmitrii Gorbatenko.
Hmm.
And it's about technology, bureaucracy, and wealth inequality.
Yeah, sounds right up our alley. So I'm intrigued already.
He basically argues that all this technological advancement is creating a new world order
Mm-hmm.
that benefits only a select few.
Yeah.
And,
You know what really struck me about Gorbatenko's piece is that he doesn't sound like one of those,
right?
people who are anti-technology.
Yeah,
He actually seems to know a lot about tech.
he does.
But he is, raising these questions about,
Yeah.
is it really all progress?
Yeah, is it really all it's cracked up to be? And one of the things that he talks about is that there's this gap
Mm-hmm.
between the hype of all this technology and the reality,
Yeah.
especially in like rural areas.
Yeah, he talks about outdated infrastructure.
Yes,
Yeah?
he calls it technological backwardness.
Like we're so focused on what's next
Right.
that we've kind of forgotten about.
The basics.
Yeah, the foundations, and then that makes us vulnerable.
Yeah, and he uses that example
Uh-huh.
about hackers getting into the power grid.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, that's just terrifying to think about.
It really is, and it kind of gets to that point
Yeah.
about, the illusion of progress.
Yeah.
Like, we think everything's cutting edge,
Right.
but we're actually more susceptible to
Right.
manipulation and control because of it.
So we've got this digital divide and we've got this outdated infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
But then he brings in this whole other thing,
What's that?
digital bureaucracy.
Ugh, don't even get me started.
It's become so
got it.
complicated and confusing.
Yeah.
I mean, haven't you ever tried to access some government service online and just been like,
Absolutely. It's
Yeah.
like you need a PhD just to renew your driver's license online.
right.
And that's exactly his point.
Yeah.
This complexity, it's not an accident. It creates a system. Uh-huh.
where we feel helpless and dependent on experts to navigate it.
So it's almost like this digital bureaucracy is giving more power to the people who are already in control.
Exactly. And it gets even worse
Okay.
because he argues that this complexity, combined with the technological backwardness,
Yeah.
creates the perfect conditions for a new breed of super rich oligarchs.
Oligarchs. Sounds a little dramatic.
I know, right? But hear him out.
Right.
He's saying these oligarchs are profiting from the system's flaws.
Okay.
They buy up failing infrastructure. They manipulate markets through their control of data.
So they're basically profiting from the chaos.
Yeah. It's kind of a disturbing thought.
It is. And he mentions this term regulatory capture.
Oh, yeah.
What does that even mean?
Well, he uses the example of big tech
Oh,
lobbying to influence legislation.
so they're making the rules that are supposed to govern them.
Exactly. Creating loopholes and exemptions and all that.
So there's less oversight.
Yep. And that brings us to another big concept, data monopolies. Okay, so what does he mean by data monopolies? We all know that companies collect our data,
Right.
but how does that give them actual power?
Well, think about it this way. Data is like the new oil.
Okay.
And these companies are hoarding massive amounts of our information.
Yeah.
And they're using it to manipulate us
In what ways?
in ways we don't even realize, like targeted ads influencing our purchases, even swaying our political opinions.
It's kind of creepy when you think about it.
It is. It's like this invisible hand shaping our lives.
And we don't even know it's there.
And here's where it gets really scary.
Okay.
He says these oligarchs are creating the problems and then selling us the solutions.
So they're investing in companies that profit from cybersecurity vulnerabilities.
Yes.
Knowing that those vulnerabilities might even be because of their own actions.
Exactly. They build these massive data monopolies, and then they offer solutions.
That just give them more control.
Right. Think about things like privatized infrastructure and surveillance technologies. They sound good on the surface, right? They're going to make our lives better,
Yeah.
but they actually erode public trust and make us even more reliant.
On these powerful companies.
Exactly.
It all sounds so bleak.
Yeah.
But is he saying that it's game over? There's nothing we can do.
Actually, no, he's surprisingly optimistic.
Okay.
He thinks we can break the cycle, but we have to change the way we think and act.
Okay, so what's the plan? Where do we even begin?
He says we have to demand transparency and accountability from our governments and these corporations.
Go ahead.
We have to invest in things like digital literacy so everyone can participate.
Mm-hmm.
And most importantly, we have to challenge the power of big tech and fight for data privacy.
So it's about becoming more aware, more engaged, more willing to fight for a better future?
Exactly. He's calling for a digital revolution, but not the kind we usually think about.
Right.
It's not about a new gadget.
Uh-huh.
It's about reclaiming control over the technology that shapes our lives.
This is heavy stuff, but it's also incredibly thought-provoking. And he seems especially worried about the U.S.
Oh, yeah?
Why is that?
Well, he sees the U.S. as particularly vulnerable to this new world order
Okay.
because of our aging infrastructure, our growing digital divide,
Right.
and the power of big tech.
Yeah.
He's really concerned about how this could undermine our democracy and make the rich even richer and the powerful even more powerful.
This is a lot to process.
I know, right?
But I'm really intrigued by this whole glitch in the matrix idea.
Me too.
It makes you think, is this a technology problem or is it a human problem?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
He uses that metaphor to highlight the difference
Okay.
between what we think is happening
Yeah.
and what's really going on underneath.
Like we're living in this simulated world where everything seems fine,
Right.
but there's this massive malfunction happening.
Yeah, it's like a computer program that's gone haywire.
And he's saying we need to wake up and see the code.
Yeah, we have to understand how the system is rigged against us.
That's a pretty powerful image. It is.
And it makes you wonder, what can we actually do about it?
I know it's a lot to think about,
It is.
but I think awareness is the first step.
Right.
We can't fix what we don't understand.
Okay, so we're like stuck in this glitching matrix, right? How do we even break free?
That's a good question.
Gorbatenko talks about like rewriting the code. That sounds intense.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It's a pretty striking image.
Yeah.
But I think what he's getting at is we have to change how we think about technology and how we use it. We can't just like sit back and consume. We have to be active in shaping the digital world.
He also says it can't just be one person, doing their own thing.
Oh, absolutely. He talks about collective action.
Right.
It's a group effort, right? Like
Yeah.
individuals can do their part, but real change
Yeah.
needs a lot of people.
But how do we get everyone on board? Because a lot of folks just feel totally overwhelmed by all of this.
Right.
It's easier to just like tune it out and focus on, everyday life.
I think he'd say education is key.
Yeah.
Digital literacy. Yeah.
But not just like knowing how to use the internet and stuff,
Yeah.
but understanding how it shapes our lives, our choices, our beliefs even.
It's funny, he talks about this helplessness that digital bureaucracy creates, but we've also become helpless in other ways, like we've given up our privacy,
Right.
our data, even our agency.
In exchange for convenience and entertainment.
Exactly. And he makes this point
Yeah.
about it not just being about technology. It's about power.
Absolutely. Who has it? Who's using it?
How's it shaping the world?
Yeah, and he's really concerned that it's getting more and more concentrated in the hands of a few.
He keeps coming back to this new world order thing.
Yeah.
Is he saying like there's this secret group controlling everything?
I don't think it's that, like, conspiratorial,
Right.
but he's definitely saying that tech and bureaucracy and corporate power are creating this system
Yeah.
where a small group benefits at the expense of everyone else.
So what can we do about it? Does he offer any solutions or is it just all bad news?
No, he actually gets pretty specific.
Okay.
He says we need stricter rules about data,
Right.
like how it's collected and used,
Yeah.
things like data privacy laws so people have more control over their information.
You know what that makes me think of? Those terms and conditions things
Oh,
we
yes.
just click through without reading.
We've all done it.
We're basically giving away our data without even realizing it.
Exactly. And he also talks about breaking up these data monopolies.
Right?
He says it's too dangerous for any one company to have that much information.
Uh-huh.
We need more competition in the tech sector.
But how do you even break up companies like that? They're so huge.
It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
But he talks about a few things like using antitrust laws,
Oh, yeah?
enforcing the laws we already have, and getting the public involved, putting pressure on these companies.
He also talks about needing public investment in technology.
Right, not just leaving it up to private companies.
So closing the digital divide is essential.
He says it's not just about fairness, it's about national security, too.
Oh, how so?
He says if a big chunk of the population can't access technology, it makes the whole society more vulnerable to manipulation.
So it's not just about individual empowerment.
Right.
It's about building a more resilient society overall.
Exactly. And that takes us back to this idea of rewriting the code.
No.
It's not just fixing little problems, it's creating a whole new system
Yep.
with new rules that prioritize people and democracy.
So it's a big goal.
It is a bold vision, for sure.
Is it even realistic? Like, can we actually change things that much?
That's a tough question.
Yeah.
He knows it's hard, but he talks about other movements in history
Okay.
that accomplished amazing things. He says the biggest obstacles are cynicism and apathy.
Like if we just give up.
Yeah, if people believe in a better future,
Yeah.
that makes it possible.
So it's about changing the narrative,
Mhm.
changing how we think about technology and its place in the world.
Absolutely. And he also talks about finding common ground, bridging those divides that separate us.
Yeah.
It's not about left versus right.
Right.
It's about reclaiming our shared humanity in the face of all this technology.
That's a good point.
It's a big picture issue.
This is really making me think differently about everything.
That's good. That's what he wants, right?
Yeah, it's not just about tech, it's about power.
Yeah.
It's about democracy. It's about the future we want.
Exactly.
But it's also about what we do every day.
Yeah.
The choices we make.
He says we're not just watching this happen, we're actively participating.
Right.
Every click, every purchase, every interaction online.
It all contributes to this new world order.
Yeah, so we have to be more mindful.
Okay.
Make choices that reflect our values.
Support companies that are doing the right things.
Right. It's about using our money, our voices, our actions to create the world we want.
It's about taking back control.
Individually and collectively.
Thinking back to that glitch in the Matrix thing, it's like he's saying we're all plugged into this system. But we can unplug it. We could rewrite the code.
We have the power to create a new reality.
But we have to see those glitches.
Yeah.
Understand how it works.
And choose a different way.
That's a powerful way to think about it.
It is. And it brings us to the core question he's asking.
What's that?
Is this the future we want?
Or we're just going to let the glitches win?
That's for us to decide.
So we're at this crossroads where we have this amazing tech that could, solve all these problems.
Yeah.
But it's also being used to, divide us, control us, concentrate all this power.
That's the tension that Gorbatenko's talking about.
Right.
He's not saying technology is good or bad. It's a tool. It can be used for anything.
Right.
But the question is, who gets to decide how it's used?
And what kind of future are we building with the choices we're making right now?
That's what he wants us to think about.
He talks about these two, contrasting scenarios.
Oh, yeah. Those are interesting.
Like two possible futures, almost like a choose-your-own-adventure.
Yeah, I liked that part.
So on the one hand, you've got this, dystopian future.
Right. The digital divide gets worse. There's more surveillance. The oligarchs take over.
And, freedom and privacy are basically gone.
Yeah, tech is just used for control and exploitation.
It's like that glitch in the Matrix becomes reality.
It's a pretty bleak picture.
But he also talks about a more optimistic vision.
He does. He says we can choose a different path.
Okay.
One where tech empowers people, creates a fairer, more sustainable world,
Yeah.
and helps us connect and understand each other better.
So the benefits of technology are shared by everyone.
Exactly, not just a select few.
How do we get there? What can we actually do to make sure we're building that kind of future?
He gives us a roadmap.
Okay.
Starts with us, each of us being more aware of our digital footprint.
Oh, okay.
Making choices about what companies we support and advocating for our digital rights.
So supporting organizations, fighting for data privacy and stuff like that.
Exactly. Things like net neutrality and making sure tech resources are distributed fairly.
So it's like personal responsibility, but also pushing for bigger changes.
Yeah, both are important.
He doesn't seem too confident that the tech industry can regulate itself.
Not really.
He thinks we need laws and regulations to make sure tech is used for good.
Yeah, not just for profit.
So we need to be more proactive, more demanding.
More willing to challenge the way things are.
But I think a lot of people feel overwhelmed by all this. They don't know where to start.
I understand that it can feel like a huge problem.
Yeah.
But he reminds us that even small actions can make a difference.
Okay.
It's about changing how people talk about these issues, shifting the narrative, building a movement.
Right.
He talks about other movements that have achieved incredible things by working together.
He also talks about needing to find common ground.
Yeah, it's not about left or right. It's about humanity versus these powerful forces.
We need to connect with people who might not agree with us on everything.
Because these problems affect everyone.
Right. It's not just a tech issue.
It's a human issue.
It's about power. It's about democracy. It's about what kind of world we want to live in.
And the choices we make today determine what tomorrow looks like.
It's a powerful message.
It is a warning and a call to action.
Yeah. He's telling us to wake up to the dangers, but he's also giving us hope.
He's saying we have the power to shape the digital world.
We're not powerless. We have a voice, and we had to use it.
To make sure tech serves humanity, not the other way around.
If you want to learn more and get involved, check out Dmitrii Gorbatenko's blog post.
It's a deep dive into some complex issues.
But it's also hopeful. It reminds us that we have the power to create a better future.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us on this journey.
It's been quite a ride.
It's been a real eye-opener, and we hope it's given you some new ideas and a sense of hope for the future.